What is up, you guys? Film Fan 0599 here again, and today we're going to review 8th Grade. So 8th Grade stars Elsie Fisher and Josh Hamilton, and what this film is basically about, it's about this girl named Kayla, and Kayla, this is her last week at 8th grade, and after this, she goes on to high school. And we basically see, how she is and how she kind of is in school and in her life and stuff like that. And we just basically kind of get a nice character study of, Kayla. So that's basically what this movie is about. And what did I think of it? Well, going into it, I didn't have a ton of expectations for it. Not that I thought it looked bad or anything. No, I never really watched any trailers for it and never really saw much from the movie beforehand. The only thing I really knew about was kind of the plot to it and some of the praise that the movie was getting. So really that's all I had to go with going into the film. But I'm honestly glad I kind of went with that because it made the viewing experience even better for me because I really like this movie a lot, honestly. I think 8th Grade is a very good coming-of-age movie. I really liked it a ton, to be honest. It's a very good movie, in my opinion. There's some really good things about it, honestly. Honestly, it's very good. I quite enjoyed 8th Grade a lot, to be honest. It's a very good movie that I didn't really have much expectations for going into it, but, ended up being kind of, very pleased by it. I thought it was very good. So, yeah, let's go into the positives, I think. I think we should go into the positives and see, what I liked so much about this movie. So, let's get to those, shall we? So here we go with the positives. So my positives with the film are, first being, I do think the acting for the most part is really good in this movie. Elsie Fisher is definitely, I think, the best element of this entire film, in my opinion. I really do think she gives a really great performance as Kayla. She is fantastic. She gives a lot of, emotion and a lot of, a lot of quirks that you would see in, a kid like this at around this time, you know what I mean? Because that's another thing I really liked about this movie too, is that it's kind of really relatable, because I think anybody can kind of relate to being like a shy, kind of almost awkward teenager around this time. And, I will admit, I was very much like that. Hell, I can still be like that sometimes, to be honest. Just kind of being a little bit awkward and just, not knowing what to say and stuff like that sometimes. I found a lot of relatability in that. I think Elsie Fisher really brings that very well into this. I do think she gives a really great performance in this movie, and definitely one of my favorites of the year for sure. She is fantastic in this, and definitely probably my favorite element of the entire film. Josh Hamilton is also great in this movie. He plays Kayla's father, and he was great too. My favorite scene in this entire movie is a personal conversation between the two of them, and it's really fantastic. Really how Josh Hamilton, kind of gives his performance in that scene. That's fantastic, and I really loved, how he's, kind of tried to be the cool, kind of quirky dad, and, Kayla's kind of not please stop. But I actually liked that, I thought it elevated well with each other. I thought they actually had some good chemistry with each other. I liked their back and forth whenever they would interact with each other. I thought Elsie Fisher and Josh Hamilton actually had some really great chemistry with each other. Whenever they had a scene together, it was actually really great, to be honest, because the two just had some great chemistry with each other. So, yeah, Josh Hamilton I thought was really fantastic in the movie. And I would say most of the rest of the acting is very good here too. The movie does have some really good acting here. I do think for the most part everyone does their job very well. I like this kind of just this character study of like I said before, this teenager going through the last week of 8th grade, going into high school, because, it can kind of be a bit scary, because it's high school, it's big deal and whatever, so it kind of puts a lot of pressure on Kayla, and you do see that in the film. I do like that a lot, and, like I said, it gives a lot of relatability, because I'm pretty sure everyone can kind of relate to this, and really can, feel this, and I do think that the movie does a very good job of that. I like how it presents itself with that in the film, and I thought they did a very nice job with that in this movie, and yeah, I thought they did a really good job with it. The soundtrack is really good too here. I thought the soundtrack was honestly really good in this movie. I quite like the soundtrack a lot. Definitely some of the best use of music I've seen all year, to be honest. Like, I really liked the soundtrack a lot here. The humor. Now, it's not like a straight up comedy or anything, but there is some humor that is implemented into this movie. And for the most part, I do think it's really good, especially one scene in particular that I'm not going. Okay, I'll just say her dad walks onto something, and it's pretty funny, to be honest. Like, I was literally like dying of laughter. Like, I legit thought it was really funny. So yeah, there are some times where the movie does use some humor in the film. I thought it was very well handled, to be honest. The writing is really great too here. I do think the movie has a really great screenplay, in my opinion. I did like the screenplay a lot with this film. The directing is really good here too. It's very well shot. The editing is also really good as well. And the cinematography is very good here too. Like, I do think the cinematography is actually really nice in this movie. So yeah, I would say the directing overall is very good here. And I will say, for the most part, the pacing is pretty solid. I do think for the most part it does move at a nice solid pace. So yeah, I did think the movie did move at a nice solid pace for the most part. Now, there are some negatives I do have with this film, and the negatives are, first being, I do think some of the acting can be a little bit stiff. At points, there are some points where I do think the acting can be a little bit stiff, especially from this one character that's supposed to be the typical mean girl. And I thought her acting was kind of a bit stiff, and that can go for some of the other people at times during this movie as well. And yeah, really, I thought just some of the acting, like I said, for the most part, really the acting is very good here in this movie, but there are some points where I did think it kind of got a little bit stiff. Some of the humor doesn't really work for me. I know there's this one scene that involves a banana that everyone's talking about and really thinks it's hilarious. Me, I thought that was just kind of, I thought that was just kind of very, poorly executed, in my opinion. I just didn't think it was all that done well, to be honest. Like, there are some points where the humor just didn't work for me. I thought it was kind of okay. And lastly, my biggest issue with this movie is that some of the pacing, when it gets slow, it gets, really, really slow. There are some points where it kind of drags out a bit, in my opinion. Like I said, for the most part, I was very invested into the movie. I thought the pacing was really good. But there are some moments where the pacing kind of get a little bit slow, and it can drag out a little bit for me. So yeah, that's all I really got to say in terms of negatives with this movie. Overall, I would say 8th Grade is a very good movie, in my opinion. I did quite like the film a lot. There are some really good elements that I did really like about this film a lot, to be honest. And overall, I would honestly recommend it to everybody. I do think it's a very solid film, and I did quite enjoy it a lot. So it's time for my official grade on 8th Grade, and my official grade on 8th Grade is a B+. Like I said, very good movie. I quite liked it a lot. Maybe I didn't love it as much as maybe some people did, but I am glad that I did enjoy it overall. There are some really good elements to this. Like I said, Elsie Fisher and Josh Hamilton give some really great performances. Just the way it kind of explores how a teenager feels during, going into high school and stuff like that. It was very good overall, honestly. I really liked this movie a lot. It's a very solid film, in my opinion. Another really good coming-of-age movie. We've been getting a lot of good ones lately, to be honest. And this is another one of those examples. So, yeah, I quite liked it a lot. Definitely deserves a B+. So, if you have seen 8th Grade, please tell me, what did you think of it? Please leave in the comment section below. And I'm FilmFan0599, and we will see you all later. Peace.